Welcome back to another live feed on the YouTube channel. Getting into it, the history of the NBA on ABC. It currently has the rights to the NBA. NBA films on ABC right now. But let's take it back, man. Where it got started. The NBA on ABC started back on January 3rd, 1965. And it lasted at the time to May 10th, 1973. Now, May 10th, 1973, that's the last time the Knicks won a championship. And that was the last time the NBA was on ABC at that time. Keith Jackson, Bill Russell did that game between the Knicks and the Lakers from Game 5, and that was the last broadcast until CBS took over. They returned to broadcast games on ABC back in December 25th, 2002. After the ABC division was merged to ESPN by the parent company Disney in 2006, it said the creative was really used. So that's where it all started historically. They signed a deal with the NBA ABC to become the league's primary television partner in 1964. For the first game ever on ABC aired on January 3rd, 1965, a game between the Boston Celtics and the Cincinnati Royals. ABC's initial alliance with the NBA first came about due to ABC Sports head Room Orlich searched for a live program that could diminish the ratings of CBS Sports Spectacular. ABC's anthology program Wild World of Sports, it boosts with sponsors. ABC paid initially the NBA only $65,750,000 for the rights annually. So much of the 1960s, ABC only televised Sunday afternoon games, including during the NBA playoffs. This meant that ABC did not have a televised Central NBA Finals deciding game if it were played on a weeknight. But in 1969, ABC did televise Game 7 of the Los Angeles Lakers Boston Celtics series in prime time on a weeknight. The following season, ABC aired the 1970 NBA Finals in its entirety, making it the first NBA Finals series to have all games televised nationally. The commentators for the original NBA on ABC was played by play announcers like Keith Jackson, Chris Schenkel, and analysts like Jack Twyman, Bob Cousy, and Bill Russell. April 8, 1967, a strike by the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists forced ABC sports producer Chuck Howard and director Chet Forte to call Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals between Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers as its regular announcer team, with members of the Union. Kirk Gowdy also served on play-by-play for half of the 1967-68 season. So the first nationally televised Christmas Day NBA broadcast occurred in 1967 between Los Angeles Lakers and San Diego Rockets from the then San Diego Sports Arena in San Diego. Jerry Gross and Jack Twyman called that particular broadcast from the network. ABC continued to televise Christmas games through 1972. Many of these broadcasts were based on Arizona Veterans Memorial Stadium, Memorial Coliseum in Phoenix. Chris Schenkel did play-by-play by ABC during this period, except 1970 when Keith Jackson held that responsibility. Jack Twyman remained as a color commentator for the broadcast up to 1971 when the position was assumed by Bill Russell. So the NBA's contract for ABC at the time in 1969 was worth only $3 million. To put things into proper perspective, in 1969, Major League Baseball's television contract with NBC was worth $16.5 million, while the National Football League cost CBS about $22 million. So ABC had made a bargain in purchasing the television rights to the NBA, considering the league's steady ratings. ABC's ratings for the NBA rose from 6.0 in 1965 to 8.2 in 1968. ABC was by this time coming increasingly under fire for what was perceived to be a less spectacular presentation of the NBA. Sports Illustrated franked Ford particularly singled ABC out for the coverage of the 1971 NBA Finals. Ford felt that ABC was making a mistake in trying to cover the NBA the same way that they covered a football game because they were two different games. On the end, Ford wrote that neither ABC's announcers nor cameras able to isolate the important phases of the game. He added that replays were used only to second guess officials rather than capture the grace and precision of the performance. Also, meanwhile, the Ford also criticized play-by-play man Chris Schenkel in regards to his failure to appreciate the nuances of the game in their halftime shows, which the Ford saw as not innovative or imaginative. The network proposed a contract extension with a modest rights bump in 1972, which was criticized by owners. Reportedly, a powerful block of owners in larger television markets were wary of television, though they understood that it needed television to promote their brand. A major sticking point was attempting to force the prospective winning television networks to air games on Saturdays during the fall and winter. They're regularly in competition with far more popular college football telecasts on ABC. So ABC balked at the request. ABC lost, unfortunately, the broadcast rights to the NBA to CBS the next 72-73 season, with the network's initial tenure of the league ending with its last NBA Finals. It was the 1973 NBA Finals between the Knicks and the Lakers, and the Knicks won that championship on May 10th, 1973. ABC filled the void left by losing the NBA by counter-programming with Wild World of Sports on Sundays against CBS NBA coverage. And here's Keith Jackson signing off at the end of ABC's coverage of Game 5 of the 1973 NBA Finals. He said, "Thank you very much. It's a happy bunch that deserves it. They play extraordinary basketball. I emphasize again that it's a team of unusual poise, brilliantly disciplined, brilliantly coached basketball team, and they have won their second NBA title, beating the Los Angeles Lakers tonight, 102-93. They won it in 1970, came back to win in 73, beating Baltimore to get into the second round of the playoffs, beat Boston 7 games, and took the Lakers out in 5. Louis Freeh of the New York Knicks has been named MVP of the championship series. He received a new automobile from Sport Magazine. I'd like to pay special respects to Terry O'Neill, who was our statistician during the season. That's the story of NBA basketball. And for all of us at ABC, we have a nice summer. Keith Jackson here at the Forum in Inglewood, California. This has been an ABC Sports presentation. So that was the last telecast, man. That's when the Knicks won their last NBA championship in 73. And that was it. Until 2002, he returned with the NBA on ABC. So the dark years, that's what they went through from 1973 to 2002. On December 15, 1973, ABC aired what is considered to be the first telecast of a regular season college basketball game by a major broadcast network between UCLA, North Carolina State, and St. Louis. ABC televised this game using its former MC announcing crew of Keith Jackson and Bill Russell. Bill Russell also was a color commentator for ABC's coverage of basketball at the Summer Olympics 1972-76. He worked alongside Frank Gifford and Bill Fleming and Kurt Gowdy. So those are things, for example. College basketball was son being on ABC. ABC would televise the 1978 ACC tournament final as part of Worldwide Sports. The game was called by Jim Lantley and Bill Russell and marked the first time Duke versus Blue Devils basketball team played on national television. Then the Summer Olympics in 1984, Keith Jackson provided play-by-play alongside Dick Phelps for the men and Ann Myers for the women. Then ABC began college basketball coverage and broadcasting on Rivalries to January 18, 1987, where it was Keith Jackson and Dick Vitale as the primary announcing crew, while Gary Bender and Al Michaels did regional games during this period. So at the time, then you had the 1984-85, 1989, 90 seasons. ABC Radio Network came to play. We started getting more coverage with that. And we had people like Oscar Robertson, Frank Manford, Dick Vitale, even Earl Monroe did some commentating. Marv Albert did the 1989 All-Star Game on ABC Radio. Chick Hearn, 1988 All-Star Game. I played Rod Hudley, Johnny Most, and Dave Barnett did color commentary for the All-Star Games on ABC Radio Network. Now it came back to 2002, January 22nd, 2002. The NBA signed a deal, 6-year deal with Walt Disney World Company, Disney Company Turner Sports, renewed an existing contract deal with TNT and allowed ABC and ESPN to acquire the rights to air the NBA games. So they paid $400 million a season, ABC, ESPN, and then the rest is history. Been on that path ever since. And NBA officially renewed its agreement again with ESPN and ABC July 24th, 2 years ago. I know WS tickets covers through 2035-36 season, so still standing strong. announcers was the Brad Nessler era. He became the number one guy when ABC came back with the NBA on ABC. ABC courted two-man announcers like Bob Costas and Marv Albert, but after Costas, who was reportedly offered a generous deal with each, also included offers to do play-by-play for ESPN, Major League Baseball telecast, and reports for ABC News. Like to remain with NBC, Albert signed a 6-year deal with TNT, so they went with Brad Nessler, who before that point had not been the main voice for any professional sport on television. Received a call from Albert's agent soon after being hired. On the call, Nessler said in an interview with Internet Movie Database, "I need to know everybody, and you can't know everybody, and Marv knows everyone. So I'm just going to use him as a valuable resource if it's all right with him." So he teamed up with Bill Walton and Silent Paul Michelle Tafoya. And then they signed pregame analyst Tom Tolbert to join the team. Then they also had Brent Musburger and Sean Elliott call the games together. But the first games came in 2003, series between the obviously that was against the Spurs and the Nets. Low ratings, harsh criticism, so ABC decided to the team. In particular, there's criticism of Brad Nessler, who was accused by media analysts of not knowing rating strategy, especially New York Times. Richard Sandomir, lacking rhythm, enthusiasm in his game call, not bringing out the best in his partners. Too often, scoring and his tendency to stammer, stuff like that. So that was good. Then they bring in Al Michaels. So he was demoted to the secondary broadcast team, where he was joined by Diane Marley and Sean Elliott. So they bring in Al Michaels. And Michelle Tafoya made the sideline reporter. Then Doc Rivers came to be the color analyst. So they've shown significant improvement. And then Doc Rivers ended up head coaching the Boston Celtics, and then though Rivers continued to work games with Michaels throughout the rest of the playoffs, ABC was forced to search for a new lead analyst. So they dropped Brad Nessler from all NBA coverage, did not retain Sean Elliott and Dan Marley, and they bring in Huey Brown. He began calling games with Michaels. And the Heat and Lakers played against each other with Kobe and Shaq and stuff like that. He had Shaq and Kobe still with the Lakers, so they made a lot of changes at that time. Jim Dorman dealt to Jack Ramsey, did some games together with John Saunders, and then Elmore and Mark Jackson were involved. Mike Breen and Ramsey were the first secondary broadcast team to work a playoff game. You see, Breen called 3 playoff games for the network in 2005, including the game one of the Western Conference Finals with Huey Brown. Al Michaels was criticized by New York Post for not broadcasting the game, seemed uninterested in the NBA in general. Barry Horn of the Dallas Morning News said that Michaels was simply not a basketball guy. So Al Michaels and Brown continued to be the broadcasting team 2005-2006 season. So Michaels will leave ABC for NBC. He was signed to deal with Monday Night Football when it moved to ESPN in 2006. However, in the weeks leading up to Super Bowl 50, no, Super Bowl 40. I think Super Bowl 40. Between the Steelers and the Seahawks. It was like Michael's going to go join John Madden, get out of his contract, and he's been to John Madden at NBC. Michael's added a few to the 5-hour reviews to stay his plans. So Monday Night Football came Mike Tirico, Joe Theismann, and Tony Kornheiser. Michaels ended up back on NBC. John Madden. Then here comes Mike Breen, who continues to do games to this day. The Mike Breen era was 20 years. Now that Mike Breen's been the lead broadcaster for ABC, he did the 2006 East Conference Finals and 2006 NBA Finals with Huey Brown, and doing it ever since. So Breen's been, a fixture at ABC Sports during the games, including ESPN. And many sports writers and sports media analysts praise Breen's some for his Supposed to voice excited calls on game exciting, game winning shots. Not like Al Michaels. Yeah, obviously he was already familiar with basketball games broadcast for the Knicks on MSG, a basketball lifer. That's why he faced some criticism from those who claimed that they would refer more established voices, Mark Albert and Kevin Harlan. Louis Brown faced criticism from writers, as well as bloggers and viewers. The sources was a sideline reporter and all that. So he been the main guy, Mike Green era. In 2003 NBA Finals, in Game 5, Mike Green called his 100th NBA Finals game. He became the first national TV play-by-play voice to reach the milestone in the third overall, following former Lakers announcer Chuck Hearn, and Johnny Most. In 2024 NBA Finals on ABC marked the first and only finals to be called by the team of Mike Breen, Doris Burke, and J.J. Redick. Silent reported sources, this also was the first woman and Doris Burke to serve as a television analyst for a major men's professional championship event. So now it's currently Tim Legler, Richard Jefferson, and obviously Mike Breen, Legler, Green, and Jefferson. All right, so that's it. Look at the history of the NBA on ABC. And nobody tuned in today for this one. Hopefully the numbers come up real soon. So that's it for tonight. I ain't doing no more live feeds. Do some more tomorrow. Until then, talk to you soon.